Good morning, everybody. We're going to call everybody to order. If everybody could have their seats, please. We're going to start off our meeting like we do every meeting with a prayer. Freddie, could you please lead us in a prayer?
In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Father and our God, we thank you always for the many blessings that you have bestowed upon this community and the people in this community. We always ask for your help, your inspiration, and your guidance. We understand that everything we have is because of your good grace. We ask you to continue to protect the people that look after us while we sleep. We ask you to continue to watch over this board, inspire them to do the best for this community, dear Lord, and make the right decisions. We ask this in Jesus Christ's name.
If everybody will remain seated, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Martin, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? All right, well, thank you for coming this morning. We have a very eventful meeting planned, so I think we'll get a lot of information out there today. First, we'll start, if I can get a motion to accept the minutes from the January meeting, January 17th meeting. Ty, a second. Seconded by Freddie. All in favor? All right, so what we'll do is we're going to go ahead and we'll start with the recognition and comments by the attending public officials. Senator Ed Murray, you want to come on up?
Good morning. I wish I had some really positive things to tell you about going over the state, but as you all have read, our biggest issue is going to be the state budget. The session starts on April 13th. We're facing about a $1.6 billion shortfall, for which we have to try to find ways to balance the budget. Our Constitution requires that. Our governor has suggested that if we do anything to try to raise any revenue, we have to have a corresponding decrease on some other revenues or taxes that come in. So right now, there is no plan, if you will, that I can present to you to tell you, to ask you to give me your comments on it. We really don't have one yet. I do hope that we have one together sometime before the session starts or shortly thereafter, so there's a chance for people to weigh in and tell us what they think about it. If it stands the same right now, the two biggest areas that will see major cost cuts are higher education and the health and hospital around the state. With higher ed, if the budget, we don't find anything different, we'll have a total funding of about $120 million, and that will amount to roughly about 10%, about 15% of what they received 7 or 8 years ago from the state. It will mean real drastic cuts with higher education, maybe the closure of some campuses. Nothing's been outlined yet. The Board of Regents is meeting, I think, on this Monday, and they will come up with a plan for us based on what they know what the budget is. With respect to the hospitals, if things stay the same, I'm sure you'll see several different programs that will cease to operate the hospitals. And just me speaking, I've been there for a little while now. I just think that we'll find something to do, something to try to pull us together. I really hope that it happens. It really is a little difficult because we've had these problems before. I'm not sure nothing this big, but we've had them before. We have a legislature and a governor that's willing to sit down and talk and work together. We kind of don't have that right now. Our governor's off doing other things and not really communicating with the legislature. So I hope that changes over between now and April 13th when we put a plan together. The other things that I guess are happening, I know you all have read, and Bob will talk a little about City Park is really blowing and going. A lot of great things happening there. Every time I go someplace, people say great things about the park and how it looks. So I think we've got a couple of little hurdles to get overcome, and we can really finish the park off, and it'll continue to be something really good for us to use here. There's been a notice filed. I've not seen a bill yet, but the non-flood asset authority that manages the lakefront property that used to belong to the levee board. So somebody's ran an ad to try to change the structure of the board. I've not seen a bill yet, so I don't know what it's going to mean. We created the non-flood asset authority to look at those assets that the new levee board under this new plan did not want to bother with because they were not flood related, flood control related. So I think what we created before has worked pretty well, and I'm not sure who is about to follow the bill to change the makeup of the board. There's a proposal now do something out there that's probably where the boat used to be, where the casino used to be. The Tip of Tina's Foundation has a proposal out there to do something really nice with the lakefront. It really looks good. And I know you'll hear more about it over the coming months on the local level. I guess that's pretty much it from the state perspective. And I'd be happy to answer any questions if you all have any. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Murray. Council member Susan Guidry, Ms. Langhoff is going to come up on her behalf.
Good morning, everyone. Hi, it's great to be here. I got to see a lot of you at the meet and greets a couple of weeks ago, which were wonderful. Councilmember Guidry was really sorry she couldn't be here today. She asked me to come and just give a couple quick updates. The first is the smoke-free ordinance is going to go into effect April 22nd. It's a big accomplishment. Councilmember Guidry and Councilmember Cantrell were really excited about that getting going. Also, coming up very soon, Councilmember Guidry and Councilmember Brissett have co-authored an ordinance to regulate TNCs, transportation network companies. This would allow companies like UberX or other companies like that to operate in New Orleans. We're still working on a firm timeline for that, but I think that council will be acting on it pretty soon. And this is just to ensure consumer protections and to increase transportation options, which I think we can all agree is very necessary. The last big legislative thing coming up is the CZO. The draft CZO has been introduced for first read. There will be a committee of the whole meeting to receive more public comment before the council considers it some point in April. And if you want to look at the draft and current zoning of any one property, you can go to property.nola.gov. And the whole current CZO and the whole draft CZO are both available online at nola.gov/CPC. And on the City Council website, nolacity.council.com, is an online form where you can submit comment. And that all goes directly to the council. So that is another exciting thing. And the last thing is, Councilmember Guidry asked me to kind of speak very briefly and read a letter about the Lakeview Shepherd Center, which, as many of you I know already, is a senior center serving Lakeview. And it's a project of Councilmember Guidry is coming up to help build and grow and support the center. So I'm just going to read her little message about that. A Lakeview Shepherd Center served the seniors of this community for 38 years, connecting them with services, serving healthy meals, and providing priceless opportunities to stay engaged in the community. This critical work, performed by hardworking staff with the support of an all-volunteer board, makes it possible for more seniors to age in place and to remain active, which is essential to the overall well-being of our community. And I would like to thank the members and board of LCIA for your past support of the Shepherd Center, which is wonderful. After Katrina, state funding for the Shepherd Center was cut. We're working to restore as much funding as possible and to direct city and grant funding to the Shepherd Center. But given the difficult budget circumstances, Senator Murray just mentioned, that it's clear that the Shepherd Center needs more community support to remain open. As the citizens of Lakeview have time and again demonstrated their exceptional civic activism, join me in working to strengthen this community asset by donating online at lscnola.org or attending the upcoming gala, which I think Jeannie's going to talk about a little later, on April 18th at Shane's, or volunteering to assist with activities and sharing your knowledge as a volunteer instructor. And most of all, please spread the word about the resources that are available and help LSC build its membership. Interested individuals can visit the website and see the schedule of activities, there's a whole host of classes, and see photos of past events, and contact Jeannie for more information at lakeviewshepherd@gmail.com or 484-0885. And thank you for continuing to support this wonderful Lakeview institution. So that is pretty much it from our office. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them or write them down and get an answer.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a huge pothole in the 7,000 block of Argonne Boulevard. The street is now impassable. It's 6 feet wide and 4 feet in width. Now, I don't know whether there's a sewage and water board main is broken or whatever, but the street is now absolutely impassable. It's not your typical pothole where all you do is ruin your tire or something, you know. But if you would, ask someone to go out there and look at it. I mean, this thing is huge. You cannot drive around.
I'll speak with Enrico Sterling and make sure our office has it reported. He apologizes, he could not be here today as well.
Just go up Argonne.
Anything else? Thank you so much.
So while we're on that note, Jeannie, would you mind coming up? Jeannie Tidy's here with the Lakeview Shepherd Center, and she had contacted me earlier in the week about coming to speak on behalf of their organization. So I'm going to let her come up and talk a little bit about their gala that's coming up and the support that they do need from our community.
I just wanted to tell you all that the center serves between 58 and 65 people a week. We give them a hot meal that is very nice with china, silverware. It is not like a lot of senior centers with pre-processed food. And it is a wonderful place and resource for our community that has all kinds of activities for them. We take them on cultural outings to museums, which a lot of them would never get to go to because of transportation. We just do a myriad of activities, so I encourage you to go to the website, but we really need your support. And we are having a big gala on April the 18th from 6 to 9 p.m. and it will have the Pfister Sisters. We have restaurants in the area who've donated food. It's going to be a fabulous event. So, I mean, if anything, just come and have a good time. It will be a really nice event, and any support you all give really helps us to keep the center going. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeannie. The Shepherd Center means a lot to my family because pre-Katrina, my wife's grandfather would attend every day. We called it summer camp for Grandpa. And he'd get up each morning and they'd pick him up in front of their house, bring him to the Shepherd Center. I don't even know if they still pick up the seniors because of the budget cuts with the transportation. They don't have a van, you know, so that's...
Swallowed by a pothole.
which would be swallowed by a pothole. But yeah, my wife's grandfather lived to 92, and I believe strongly that the activities of every day of keeping up and moving around is part of the reason. So it will be very important that we support that. So we'll be sending out stuff through LCIA in the future, keeping everybody up on it. So while we're on the seniors theme, I'm going to bring up Ms. Macau. Muriel, would you come on? Muriel is one of the original founders of our neighborhood. Her family came to Lakeview in the early 20s, and I'll let her speak about it. We see all the little kids running around the neighborhood, but what we forget is this is not the first insurgence of little kids in this neighborhood. We're probably on 3 and 4 generations now, so it's important that we fix the streets for the little kids now, but I think it's also important that we remember the people that helped us build the community.
Hi, everybody. I came here mainly to say thank you. A few years ago, I came and I asked for some help from you because I had the idea that everybody had a story about Katrina, and I decided, well, I'm going to collect stories about early Lakeview, long, long before Katrina, when we couldn't complain about streets because there weren't any. There was Florida Avenue, West End Boulevard, and Robert E. Lee Boulevard. Period. Canal Boulevard came later, and Lakeview was developed in the 20s, and at last, I finished my book. Growing up in Lakeview in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. And I'm so glad that I lived long enough to finish it, because it took a long time to find those near my age who were growing up and had memories like me. And I thought it was worthwhile to kind of gather up all these memories. I can't really say this is my book, it's everybody's book. because I collected memories of Lakeview School and St. Dominic, the only two, and all the fun we had growing up in Lakeview. Everybody's story stops when they finished high school and they either went to college or they started work. What else happened? They all went into the service for the big war. So I said, let's stop all the stories right there, you see. So this is only early Lakeview. Thanks a lot. I didn't get much help because you all, I feel like I'm talking to a bunch of babies, you know? but I met a lot of grandchildren. They say, I'm going to tell you about my grandmother or my grandfather. My father came out here in 1924. He bought a lot on the corner of General Haig and Mouton. $600. And he built his house in Cypress. And when I was 6 months old, he moved my mother and I into our first house in Lakeview. And so after Katrina, one more little story. After Katrina, I came back. I have to find my tree. And if you drive now to the corner of General Haig and Mouton, there wasn't a Mouton. General Haig was made out of shells. Anyway, I watched my mother bring home a little oak tree in a bucket, and I watched her plant that oak tree, and by golly, it is still there. Okay, it's at the printer now. You can either get it from Amazon, or I'm going to have a book signing at the library, and I'm going to try to come, what is the marketplace, once a month? I'm going to try to come and sit with my grandson. I have a grandson who is selling pirogues, and he goes to all of the marketplace evenings that they have. But anyway, thanks again and again.
So Ms. McIver's agreed to come back to it'll be our May meeting, and she'll sit in the back, and hopefully we'll have the books from the printers by then, so if anybody's interested in purchasing them. Okay, so we'll keep going here. We'll jump off the senior theme and bring up Mr. Bob Becker. Bob was here at our January meeting, which I was ecstatic to have him here to talk to us about City Park and all the wonderful things going on, and at my request, he's come back again to give us an update on the golf course.
Well, thanks, Brian. So when I was here before, I told you the state had signed a contract for our golf course, and they had, and the contractor has been out there working. Course is scheduled to be completed in February of 2017, although the contractor says he might finish earlier than that, so that would be really good. I'm sure some of you have read that we've had some protesters. We have a couple of people in a tree, or we had a couple of people in a tree. We now have one person in a tree. The young lady who was in the tree thought better of it and came down, and the gentleman is coming down on Monday. So it's always understandable that not everybody is pulling the oars in the same direction. But nevertheless, the course is underway. We're really excited about it. I just wanted to thank LCIA for all the support that they've given us, for the tremendous recovery the park has experienced, and for this project, the golf project, as well as others. We very much appreciate it, and hopefully we'll have a great facility for you all. And I have some information with Brian. If anybody wants any details about what has happened in the park and all the things that we've done and have got going, and this project as well, tree planting program, anything you'd like, I have some information for you. So again, thank you so much for all of your help. We appreciate it. I have a question.
What are the plans with the children's museum?
The question was, what are the plans with the Children's Museum? I think I mentioned to you before that the board approved the location for the Children's Museum years ago. The Children's Museum has been raising money, and they are under design with their facility, and I believe they hope and expect to start construction sometime in the second quarter of 2016. They, like everyone, virtually everybody in the city is developing and doing projects to lead up to the city's 300th birthday in 2018. It's a big goal point for lots and lots of organizations and individuals, and certainly that is the Children's Museum's big project for that time. So we're working with them. We're excited about that. Yes, ma'am.
The dog park. I don't find that they're taking good enough care of the dog park. Okay, and they're asking $48 a year for it. Wait. They have bees underneath the gazebo and on the bushes that's on the side of the fence. They have bees and they have ants on the ground. Okay?
Okay.
So, I don't know if you can do anything.
Oh, I can do something about it. Oh, yeah. I can definitely do something about it. I was really unaware of that, and I will take care of it directly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you know if there's any discussions with the PGA about moving the Zurich Classic forward?
No, I don't think so. I don't think, until the course is finished and opened and we have play and we move the first tee program there, it will be a major learning center for kids in the area. I think once all that happens, there might be a discussion, but, we didn't build this to draw the tournament. I think they're very happy where they are. But, that's all that is years away. All right, thank you. Sorry? Yeah, there's one guy in a hammock in a tree.
What about the former Kennedy school site? Will that revert back to the park?
Well, we have expressed interest in the Kennedy site for years to the school board, Recovery School District. I really don't know the status, frankly. I don't really know what is going on with that. I think last month or a couple months ago, the school board, as part of a procedural issue that they had, offered it up to charter schools. I think they're required to do that actually, and to sell it to a charter school. I didn't know if a charter school bid on it or not. I'm not the. I don't know anything more than that, and I'm sure your elected officials probably know a lot more than I know. All right, thank you so much, and I appreciate the opportunity to come say something. Thank you.
So we'll leave the informational flyers up front. I think a good takeaway from this is that nothing happens overnight with City Park. There's tons of meetings, and sometimes people wish it would happen quicker. So I know that if they're under construction, that means it's been well thought out and there's been input from the neighborhood, and everyone should be very happy with it when it's completed. Next, I'm going to bring up Sergeant Benjamin, please, to give us our LCPD update.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to begin with providing an overview for the crime update for the month of March, along with the update for the first quarter of 2015 and the unit statistics for the Lakeview Crime Prevention District. From March 1st to March 20th, there were 905 UCL crimes investigated by the New Orleans Police Department. 116 of those crimes occurred in the 3rd District, and 12 of those crimes were investigated in the Lakeview area. All 12 crimes were property crimes, 1 burglary, 1 stolen vehicle, 1 theft, and 9 vehicle burglaries. All 9 vehicle burglaries were, the vehicles were unlocked when the crimes occurred. 5 of these incidents occurred in Zone E, which is from Harrison to City Park, Canal to West End. 2 of these incidents occurred in Zone I, which is from Harrison to City Park, Orleans to Canal. All these crimes are possibly related as they occurred between 1 a.m. and 2 a.m., all within the same close proximity of each other. Yesterday, we were fortunate enough to make an arrest. That was on yesterday at 2 a.m., the LCPD officer, Jules Martin, observed 2 subjects dressed in dark clothing and hoodies one pulling on car door handles in the 6100 block of Colbert Street, and the other exited the vehicle with 2 purses and the camera. One subject fled on foot as the officer approached. However, the other was detained pending an investigation and was later charged with burglary. The arrested subject turned out to be an 18-year-old Caucasian female who lives in Metairie. The investigation is ongoing, but we do know that the arrested subject has at least 2 accomplices, a boyfriend who drove the getaway car, and another female who's considered one of her closest friends. All 3 of these subjects live in Metairie. Once this investigation is complete, I'll have more information for you, but we believe that these individuals may be responsible for all the crimes all the car burglaries that were committed in zones E and I. So far this month, there were 12 uniform crimes reported in Lakeview compared to 16 crimes reported in March of 2014, which represents a 25% reduction in crime for the month of March. For the first quarter of this year compared to last year, 37 UCL crimes were investigated in Lakeview this year compared to 64 last year through March, which is a 42% reduction in crime. By category, burglaries are down 29%, auto burglaries are down 5%. Note that 20 auto burglaries occurred this year compared to 21 of last year. 18 of the 20 auto burglaries, the vehicles were unlocked. So there was 90% of the vehicles that were burglarized were not secured. Auto theft is down 40%. Thefts are down 75%. As far as personal crimes are concerned, we have 1 sexual assault this year compared to 1 the same time last year. That case this year was cleared by an arrest. And we have two robberies that occurred this year compared to 2 robberies that occurred last year. The 2 robberies were cleared by an arrest this year. For 2015, January, overall crime in January was down 16%, February 69%, and like I said, this month is 25%. As a unit, the officers that work in the Lakeview Crime Prevention District has handled 471 complaints, 286 business checks, 122 residence checks, 69 traffic stops, issued 60 traffic warnings, issued 27 traffic citations, conducted 48 field interviews, wrote 5 reports, and have effected 14 arrests. Lakeview officers patrol your neighborhood around the clock to keep you safe. If you own a vehicle, please take a moment of your time to remove all valuables and weapons from your cars before retiring for the night. 90% of the cars, like I said, were unlocked. 2 cases this year of vehicle burglaries. There was only 2 cases involved forced entry where the windows were smashed. So if the items are not in plain view or removed from the vehicle and the vehicle is secured, 9 times out of 10, these criminals will put on the door handles and keep moving. So thank you for your time, and this concludes my report.
This Thursday night is our monthly Crime Prevention District meeting. We have it every month except for July and December. Thank you. So we'd like to encourage everybody to come out. Sergeant Benjamin has been extremely instrumental in helping us tackle crime. He's done an excellent job. But it's going to take the cooperation and the help of everybody in this community to get particularly that one item down about the car burglaries. Month in and month out, people are leaving their cars open, the kids are going into them, and it gets classified as a burglary. And it affects the overall ratings of what kind of job we're doing when really it's a thing we don't have any control over. So we encourage everybody to come out. On Thursday night, we will be discussing at that meeting a very important topic. And first of all, I'd like to thank Ralph for helping us put our website up and running and get it in top-notch shape. At that meeting, we will discuss if we should post to that website on a daily, weekly basis the events that are going on pertaining to crime in this community. And there's a little, some of the board feels that we shouldn't post each and everything as it comes up. Other members of the board say that maybe we should. So we're going to try to get to the bottom of that. But for the people that are in this audience, I'd like to see a show of hands. How many people would be willing to give us their email address, first of all? and then from that email address, have information disseminated to you guys on a periodic, weekly basis as far as the activities that are going on in this community. Is that something that the majority of the people would like to see? Okay. All right, so it looks like it's probably a little more than 50% of the people here. All right, we'll keep that under consideration then. All right, thank you all very much.
So Representative LaRusso wasn't able to make it today. He did ask, and I passed out some flyers, should be on your seats. They are having a town hall meeting on Wednesday, April 8th at 6:30 at Hines Charter School. It's Louisiana budget issues. So please get out there and speak with Representative LaRusso. Let him know what's important to you in regards to the state budget. Representative Wesley Bishop has an assistant here today. Would you like to speak?
Can't hear you.
For those of you that don't know, Representative Bishop is the state representative for our district to the east, so right across from our neighbors. So I believe that we have a lot of the same issues that they're dealing with.
First of all, good morning. Thank you for having me here. I came, to listen and to hear your concerns. So if any of you have anything in regards to Representative Bishop's district, or anything that's going on, just meet me after the meeting and we can talk about anything and we can exchange information. Other than that, I'm just here to listen and say hi, get some donuts, and get some other.
All right, so next I'm going to bring up Laura Mellon, who is the neighborhood liaison for the Mayor's Neighborhood Engagement Office. We had a lot of conversations last year about coyotes, and that is one of the issues that we're going to speak on today, along with the other stuff that Laura has to present.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Laura Mellon. I'm with the Mayor's Office. I'm going to do some quick updates just citywide, and then we'll get to the coyote information session, okay? So some updates from DPW. As you all know, construction has begun on the paving-only contract in Quad 1. So right now, Durr Heavy Construction has completed layout work on Brook Street between Orleans and West End, and crews are currently working between the 700 and 900 block of Brooks, and will be on site for the next 3 weeks. The scope of work in these areas includes removal and replacement of portions of the sidewalk, the curb, and the roadway. Crews are working from 7 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., and we want to remind residents to exercise caution when driving, biking, and walking active construction sites. In terms of knowing when roadwork is happening, we're excited to have launched a new website on the city's website. It's called roadwork.nola.gov. You can go to that site and you can see live updates on what is currently under construction, and then you can also see what's planned, the timelines, and what has been completed. And this data is going to be updated on a monthly basis, so it should be pretty up to date. And again, that's roadwork.nola.gov, and you can even type in your address and see exactly what's happening on your street or what's planned on your street. Jasmine Harrison is here today from the New Orleans Redevelopment Authority, but I just wanted to mention that they will be having an auction of 130 properties next Saturday, March 28th. There's nothing for sale in the Lakeview area, but there are properties in Chantilly and in Hollygrove area.
I'll further explain the auction.
Okay, she's going to explain later. And then the final update is Megan mentioned the smoke-free ordinance, and the city has actually launched a website with more information on the smoke-free ordinance. So if you have questions or concerns about that, you can consult nola.gov/smoke-free, and they have really great information on that website. Any questions for me before we move on to the coyotes? Okay. With that, I'll introduce Claudia Riegel, who is the director of the Mosquito, Termite, and Rodent Control Board, and she's just going to talk a little bit about the concerns and about what residents can do to reduce harm.
Riegel.
Thank you so much for the invitation today. I really appreciate having the opportunity to speak to all of you today. So as Laura said, I'm the director for the City of New Orleans Mosquito and Termite Control Board. So we're tasked with rodent control, New Orleans Parish, mosquito control. We also do a lot of termite work. We do all pest control at city facilities. And basically, if it has no legs to many, many hundreds of legs, it comes to our office in some capacity. So that includes possums and raccoons, and we get all of those calls as well. So I don't know how much you've been following things in the news, but nationwide, coyotes have expanded their territory. So they're originally from the western to the prairie area, and over the many years they've expanded out. In Louisiana, probably showed up around the 1980s or so, and as you all know, we have them in Orleans Parish. So this is not unique to New Orleans. Cities like New York City, beautiful Central Park has one here and there every once in a while. City of Chicago, over 2,000 in Cook County. And actually in Chicago, it's one of the best studied places in the country. There's a professor, Dr. Ted Gertz from Ohio State, who's done a lot of work and a lot of research in that particular area. So, these are very adaptable animals. They have a very wide, varied food sources. Their primary food are rodents. That's number one, okay, from the research that's out there. But they also eat rabbits. They are omnivores. So fruit and berries, the mulberries are going to be coming into season here soon, and they love that stuff. So a very varied diet. Now, what do we do about coyotes in our yards, right? Or you see them walking around. So the very first thing that everyone needs to be doing, and we, not only us, but this is what's in the literature, this is what other cities are doing as well, is looking at backyard integrated pest management, right? So we do a lot of IPM. I'm going to sort of throw that word out a lot, but it's all about our behavior. What are we doing in our yards? So for example, please do not feed your pets outside. Okay, that's a food source for these animals. And it's not only for the coyote potentially, but for the raccoons, for the possums, for the stray cats, all of those things that potentially could be a food source for these animals. Feral cat colonies. We know we have many of them. In fact, we have one behind our building. And so they come out every morning and they feed those animals, and they're feeding other animals as well. Your bird food. I love feeding my birds, right? But I had roof rats in the trees, so I had to stop. But I didn't want them in my yard. But the bird food, the feed is another wonderful food source for these animals, but then also for the small critters, rodents specifically, really great food source for them, and we don't attract the coyotes to your area. So look at the water that you're leaving out as well. So if you're a coyote or a raccoon or a rodent, there's a triangle. You need food, water, and shelter. And our plan here is to cut 2 legs of those, that triangle away. If you do that, those animals can't survive, especially in those neighborhoods or in that particular area. So I know it seems very basic, but it's incredibly important. So if you look at New Orleans, we've been driving around with my colleagues, one of our employees there, Mr. Timmy Mider, wonderful employee, very knowledgeable on wildlife as well, rodents. And we have been driving around the city, little gators, golf carts, you name it, looking at all these environments. And so we have natural corridors in our city, lots of green space. You can take a look at City Park, and it radiates with green space everywhere, right into these beautiful neighborhoods. And so we also have Bayou Sauvage out in the east, feeding the rest of the city as well through natural corridors. So the reality is it's going to be very difficult to nearly impossible, I would say, to eradicate all of these coyotes because you have these natural, basically corridors, and you have the levee, the badgers, all of that connecting up. So, bottom line here, and we're going to talk more about it, is that they're here, and they're here to stay, right? So what we need to do is how do we protect ourselves, protect your kids, your pets, all of that. And of course, I'm going to give you a nice example from the North Shore. There's one particular neighborhood that banded together, and I'm sure a lot of folks are on emails. I know I am with my neighborhood association, so they'll send out emails of sightings, and people really hunker down. They stop leaving their pets outside at night. They stopped, feeding the birds, feeding the pets, and over the course of time, the coyote sightings went to 0. And there were reports of cats being taken by coyotes in that neighborhood. All right. So going back to what you can do. Number one and foremost, band together as a community and remove those food sources. And we had last week, we actually had an expert come in, Mr. Brett Johnson from Texas Parks and Wildlife. He spent some days with us. And it was coyote all day long. It was great. And we also had an urban wildlife workshop. We had over 80 professionals from our area that came to attend. So there was a lot of interest, which is wonderful. We got a lot of good information out there. But very important to band together as a community with that. They need water, but the reality is we're not going to change that, okay? We have water everywhere. What about shelter? So, as we were driving around, one of the things that we saw, or at least I saw a lot, was there's a lot of green space for these animals to hide out in these neighborhoods. If it's an elevated porch, make sure that there's some sort of lattice underneath your porch to close it off. And whatever I'm saying for coyote, I'm telling you for the larger animals as well. So very, very important to do that. With vegetation, we talk about vegetation a lot for rodents. You want it in a V shape. Because if you have a lot of vegetation that's low to the ground, you're providing hiding spaces for these animals. Okay, so it's very important. So there could be areas where a coyote could be bedding down, and in fact I had a case in Lake Vista. It was bedding down in banana leaves and banana trees in the person's backyard. And it wasn't until one day it ran out that they saw it. So really steps away from the backyard, but then they ended up cutting it down. So just take a few minutes in your own yard. You don't have to cut it down. It might just be some trimming so that there isn't a hiding spot for these animals. Okay, very, very important. Those are the most important things that you do. Now, let's say you see who has seen a coyote? This is important to us. And you've seen them. Can you guys just sort of yell out where you've seen them? In the bayou?
West End.
On West End, like on the green space?
Yes, but this is before Katrina.
Before Katrina.
Florida Canal.
Florida and Canal, okay. By the railroad tracks, that's a place that they do walk around. In fact, I talked to a rodent expert from New York City yesterday. We were talking about coyotes, and that's how they were getting into Manhattan.
I have several reports because I do the fly mail and
Yeah.
let me know
Where you see them. Okay, very good. So it sounds like you already have a good reporting network, which is great. I'm going to tell you what you guys need to do with that here in a second. So let's say you see a coyote on the levee or on a green space or something. You just drive up like you're normally doing every day. It's far away. It's not bothering anybody, and you go home. So now you've just taught that coyote that you're fine. He's okay there. She's okay there. You need to yell at it, throw a stone in its direction. You need to make these animals as uncomfortable as possible because they don't like it. This is called hazing. This is an acceptable way, and all of you, if you can do it together, it's going to help, all right? So very important. So yelling. There was a homeowner meeting. Okay, I'm going to yell too, but say, hey, coyote, out of the way. Make some noise. It's very important to make them as uncomfortable as possible. And what will happen is you do that a few times, and it's moving on. Okay, so very, very important. Now, in the very rare occasion, and looking at the literature and looking at the different cases out there, when you have a coyote, well, first let me just tell you, there are different steps from 1 to 7, of sort of level of concern of a coyote. If you are walking your dogs, please leave them on the leash. What you don't want is your coyote going into the woods or going into a green space, or your dog going into a green space and there's a coyote there. And that coyote may be trying to defend itself, or vice versa. So you don't want that interaction, okay? Very important to do that. But in the very rare occasion that a coyote does need to be removed, and that is the case is when it is involved with a human. So for example, You're walking your dog on a leash, that coyote is a few feet from you, 6, 10 feet away, and you're yelling and that thing's not backing off. That's when we start to get into a bold coyote. But what we don't want to do is habituate these animals to become bold. So you need to haste them, you need to remove your food source, you need to do those things in order to make sure that that does not happen. Now, Colonel Sneed back there, I report to Colonel Sneed, we're in Homeland Security. So now, 311 will take your calls. We want to know where they're at. Okay, so I actually talked with 311, we talked to Colonel Sneed, and since it's furry and it has 4 legs, it's going to come to our department. So Mr. Meyer back there, myself, we've got another gentleman who's really excellent. We're going to be investigating those cases. So we do want to know. But just be aware that we might tell you and go visit your yard and say, look, I really need you to clean this up. Or I need you to do X, Y, and Z. So we hope, that you would do that. Not only is it going to help for coyotes, but it's going to help for rodents as well. So anyway, but that's kind of where we're going from now. I don't want to take up all your time because I know you guys have other things on the agenda and I can talk for hours, right? So I'm going to take questions.
Do you have any kind of flyer with the information that you just gave to post on our website?
Right, so the flyer,
And
so
then we can send that.
we will shortly. So I'm in the process. We had a very busy week last week with the wildlife workshops and going out in the fields. So I'm going to be actually working on some fact sheets. We do have a very small, it's very, very basic, but we'll leave it on the back table. It's just a few things to remember. And the other thing is we're going to be, actually we, I say we, but it's me, going to be writing the plan for Orleans city properties of a coyote management plan. And that's really going to outline the hazing, the habitat modification, the human behavior modification, keep your dogs and pets on the leash. And it'll also outline the different levels of concern, so from 1 to 7. Yes?
I've come across stray dogs just as threatening as coyotes. You're not interested in those?
So the stray dogs go to SPCA police. So they do deal with that, and it's very important. And actually, that's a good point. So you have to be careful with those animals as well. And so if it's the food sources and all of that, that's going to play into a role. Please report that to SPCA. Very interesting. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
A couple of years ago, you all bought, the city bought a whole pile of equipment and funded for a particular wildlife division. I think it was primarily to address the hogs out in New Orleans East. And since then, you all bought the equipment, and now the equipment is sitting there, and supposedly the guy that was in charge of that was reassigned to something else. So is that going to be refunded
for the hogs?
In the future from the city council?
I am not familiar with that particular program. I know that was not run through us. I don't know if Colonel Sneed or Laura can address that particular point. I don't know what the equipment was, if it was cameras or what it may be. So I'm not 100% sure, but Laura's I'm sure we'll follow up on it.
Do you have a website we could refer to?
We do, and so a lot of these documents are going to go onto the website, and actually as you're reading coyotes, I really want you to read about rodents and termites and everything else, okay, mosquito control, but it's www.nola.gov/mosquito. I'm just warning you, it's not on there right now, but it will be on there soon, so. All right, any questions? Yes, Luna. So it's not about either protecting them or shooting every last one of them. So, we're in Orleans Parish. There are safety issues. You can't discharge firearms when it comes to coyotes. So when you have a populated neighborhood, I don't want to necessarily talk for the police, but that is typically an unsafe situation. So there are other ways. These coyotes that become bold, become habituated, and they fall into a predictable type of pattern. So they may be actually a little easier to trap if needed. It's just that the police is going to, we work in tangent with the police and Colonel Sneed, so ultimately they have the say on that. But I just do want to say one thing about the coyotes and just removing coyotes that are not bold and not a threat. They're density breeders, much like rats. So you increase So let's say you have stable families, they're monogamous, they have stable families, the teenagers are on the periphery, right, looking for trouble. And so you start to remove animals, creates a vacuum, you have increased food sources for the ones that remain, and guess what happens? Reproduction goes into overdrive. So you may see a reduction, you probably would, for a short period of time. But because the population, they're density breeders, they start to breed and breed and breed. Next thing you know, a couple years or less than that down the road, you have even a bigger situation. So that's why if you look at city over city over city, it's really learning how to live with them and deal with the bold coyotes. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Are coyotes known to be aggressive or dangerously so in any way?
No. So if you look at the normal coyote, and look, we have a great example. There was one, I think everyone knows the ones at the golf course, right? So we watch them too. We're over there, and not only do we watch them, so with the coyote expert, and actually Mr. Timmy Midair in the back, one of our employees, they're out there, and they actually cornered that coyote. They were only about 4 feet away from it, and guess what it did? It ran off. And that is the normal behavior of these animals. So it sort of goes back to the bold ones. Please help us not habituate these animals and get comfortable. If you look at California and some of the places where they've had bites, and this sounds a little nuts, but this is the truth, the majority of them had to do with feeding, like humans feeding these animals or leaving food for the coyotes. So please, under no circumstances should you leave them. I know the pups are cute and they look like little fluffy dogs, but please don't leave any pet food out for them. Yes, so you really are looking at fences as far as jumping. How high can they go? So we're looking at fences about 8 feet is what you're normally going to need. And then also, anyway, I could go on for hours, guys. So look, I'm going to leave my card out there in the back, okay? So this is all questions pest related. And if you're interested in getting on our email list, we do lots of seminars, workshops, things like that. Just shoot me a message and we're happy to do that. So, all right, thank you for your time.
And just to clarify, we do have a small information sheet today with tips on some of the things that Claudia mentioned, but it sounds like she's going to do a much more detailed fact sheet, and I'll send that to you when that's ready. So we'll leave the fact sheet on the back table right there. Thank you.
So next I'm going to have Ralph Schindler come up and talk about our new membership renewal rates and our online membership.
I'm going to try to be brief. Rory was supposed to give this, so hopefully I'll hit all his high points. What you'll see on the screen is the old membership structure. And essentially, a bunch of different columns: under 65, over 65, single, couple, family, business, so on and so forth. And I'll talk a little bit about the motivations for the change as well. But essentially, we're moving from this structure to a much simpler structure. Essentially, we are introducing an e-member, which is you go to the website, you sign up, you pay a reduced rate of $30, and you will have access to the latest newsletter in your inbox, as opposed to as your physical mailbox. We will also have the original. We will also have the original household membership, which was previously the couple family membership, and this will send this is all the same stuff as the e-member, with the exception that you will physically get the newsletter to your household. One of the motivations for the change is we print the newsletter. The newsletter costs $24 a month. So in order to raise revenues for LCIA, to make it flush, not lose money on it, we are introducing the e-member, which some of the younger demographic will probably appreciate. Lastly, we'll have the business membership, which I believe is roughly the same price, maybe it's a little bit more, $75. So the high points here are, as an e-member, it's a reduced annual rate. You'll have access to the newsletter on the website as soon as it's available. It's emailed every other month when it's published, same as it is now. Mark will address that if you have questions about the newsletter specifically. The household particular membership is the same as what it was as the couple family membership. Essentially, nothing will change there except the price will go up just a little bit. You will still get the print version of the newsletter. You will also have access to the newsletter on the website at the same time. As for the business, it's essentially the same as the previous system. You will also get the newsletter, same as you did before. You'll get the complimentary listing in the LCIA newsletter green pages, and you will get discounted advertising rates. So more or less, the reason why we changed, people were demanding more access to the newsletter. Sometimes they get lost in the mail, sometimes it gets misplaced in your house, so on and so forth. This way, with any membership level, you can always log into the website and get access to the newsletter. So what's going to happen is, starting today, you can go to the website, click on Join Now, and you'll get the new forms. You'll be prompted to sign up on the website. You'll have your email address and password, so on and so forth. We'll still be fielding memberships here in person if that's not your thing. Over the course of the next month, we'll be taking, this is more of a technical detail, but we'll be taking people out of the old system and putting them into the new system. So anybody that has a current membership will also get an email that says, this is where you can log in, this was your username, and this is your temporary password. So that'll be happening over the next couple of weeks. If you don't already have a membership, going to the website today is how you become a new member. Same as it was before, you'll just get a new form. So I know I went over this, I wasn't prepped for this. So does anybody have any questions? Sure.
Do you have any idea what the participation rate is with the population of tourist percentage that are members?
Hard numbers, no, but I can give you some general idea. I think there's roughly around 7,000 parcels. I want to say probably about 4,500 of them are people living in them. And I think our membership right now is close to 1,000. So it's between 750 and 1,000. I actually want to say it's probably closer to the 750, maybe. So it could be higher. And I think moving everything to a more streamlined online system is going to grab the younger demographic, which doesn't happen to be a lot of people that come with kids don't generally show up at the meeting at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning. Hopefully this will appeal to them so that we can increase that number and also increase the revenue that an e-membership would bring to the table. As I said, when you look at this pricing structure, essentially $30 is free for us, for an e-member, whereas with the old membership, you have the $40, that's the membership rate, but then we're roughly spending about $24, $25 to get that newsletter to you. So again, that's key to raising revenue, to keep everything going, to not lose money. Sure.
If you wanted to become an e-member right now, you're halfway in your membership. You paid for it 6 months ago. If you want to convert over to become an e-member, what is the process of doing that?
He's asking, what is the process for an existing membership that's converting into the new system? We will be moving all of those records in the old database to the new database, and when you get this email, you'll be able to log in and it'll say you are current to a specific day. When that day comes in the future, let's say you're 6 months out of the membership renewal, you'll get another email that says you're about to expire, please renew. But here's another key point. We are changing, and it wasn't in these notes, we are changing the way we're accepting credit cards. The benefit for us is that we won't have to hound people to renew. When you go to the website, you're actually getting a subscription. So if you do nothing, at the turn of the next year, it'll actually just charge a credit card for you. Same as you would an Amazon subscription. And you can go back to the website and opt out at any time. So you won't have to keep going back, and currently the process is, it's almost like you're a new member every year. You go to the website, you fill it out, you get process your credit card, put you in the database, and then next year you have to go through the same process again. Now you do it once, and it'll just continually keep your membership current.
So what you're going to see
see from us over the next few months, and I'm sure this is a term you see on the news all the time, is fiscal responsibility. The board has sat down over our last board membership meeting, and we've been discussing very strongly fiscal responsibility. Basically, our revenue for LCIA comes from membership and advertising. Advertising in the newsletter, advertising on the website. And we spend every dollar that comes in each year. So our concept is that if we want to continue to do more things, we need to either bring in more money or sell more advertising. But I believe we're where we need to be with the advertising. And part of the reason we spend all that money on that newsletter is because we have so much great information in the newsletter. We don't want the newsletter to be a 2-page ad only. We want you to get the information. We're also trying very hard now to switch over to this E-type setup where we're putting a lot of the stuff that we're putting in the newsletter onto the website. We're putting it on the Facebook page. So this is definitely one of those situations of preaching to the choir, because if you're here today, then you're a strong member who supports us. But there's a lot of people out there who aren't filling in for the memberships, aren't paying the $30, $35. And it may be because we're doing too good at getting information out. You no longer have to necessarily become a member to get all that information. So I think it's going to be important for us, and we will push this through our membership to let other people know that we do a lot of things other than just disseminate information. We have community activities. We do the Holiday on Harrison every year where we have this big event, and it's not free. We have to pay for it. The lights that go up and down Harrison Avenue for Christmas each year, or for the holiday season, that costs a good bit of money. So we are in the process now of making sure that we're spending money where we should be spending money, but ultimately the more money we can bring in, the more things we can do. Most of what you see in the green spaces, whether it be on Harrison Avenue or even the Nutri-Grounds, I don't know if a lot of people realize it, but there was a lot of private fundraising that went on through LCIA's board after Katrina. There's a reason that our Nutri-Grounds were the first ones to come back, and there's a reason that they are so well planted. It's because we went out and we raised a lot of money to do it. And because we did that, we were forced to maintain those. The city was wonderful to work with us. And that's another thing. We have multiple, what you call cooperative endeavor agreements with the city. Because we went to them and we said, if we do this, will you let us? And they said, if you do it, you have to promise to maintain it. And we have. We have maintained it from day one. So when you see the beautiful work that's being done on the landscape and the grass cutting the city does, everything else is on LCIA and on volunteers, you know, and on donations from wonderful people like the Lupos and the Robert family and all that. So we have 5,000 parcels in Lakeview. We have 750 families that join, which is phenomenal for any group. I'd be very surprised if there are other civic associations, if you put them together, that had as many members as we do. But in Lakeview, great isn't good enough. So we're going to keep pushing, and we're going to try to get back up to that 1,000 membership, which is where I want to be. So we probably will have a big membership drive that'll come up, and we'll ask you to kind of help us with disseminating the information. Reed?
Would the board consider an incentive to renew with a $5 discount?
Sorry?
Would the board consider an incentive to renew give us a $5 discount?
I think the board will consider anything. So we'll keep looking at all that, and we'll let you guys know as we make progress.
I like to see a benefit of me renewing year after year after year.
Gotcha. Okay. There you go. Referral program might be good too. All right. So next, I'm going to bring up Ray Bergeron for our zoning committee report.
Here it comes. All good news, right?
And I appreciate you sticking with us today. I know we've got a lot of information coming, but I think that's kind of the point of why we bring all you guys out here on Saturday.
Morning. I know we're getting running late, so I'll be quick. I just want to mention that the zoning committee is strong and consistent, and we still meet once a month, and we deal with numerous requests for variances, and as well as give out general information on how to get by or find information on how to build and renovate in the area. So we are extremely active. We have 5 architects on our committee, and we are very and we enjoy the opportunity to help the community. Quickly, I have been in the past keeping people up to date as to development in Lakeview. I heard just recently that that 70124 zip code has the third highest real estate development activity in the country. And that tells us that there's a lot going on. And I believe it's going to continue for a long time. Right now, there's just a quick rundown. The dental clinic, the Cantonelli Dental Clinic is opened right there on the corner of Canal Boulevard and Harrison. The El Gato restaurant is, El Gato Negro restaurant is about to do some more renovation. They just purchased property, or leased property across the street for a parking lot to assist in their parking issues. The packaged meat store, the Christian pre-prepared meals that was called, is under construction at the corner of Canal Boulevard, at Harrison and West End Boulevard. That'll be open, I guess, in about 3 or 4 months. A retail store that Mr. Majors put together has a